I'm going to try to crank out one more feature here, the add visit feature, before I go watch some basketball tonight. All right, clear my throat here and get a drink. And we want to be able to add a visit. So adding a visit is basically going to be ultimately at the end of this file, I want to add a row with the information from the visit class, an instance of the visit class kind of turned into this string, right? So taking all the properties of the visit class and turning them into this string. Some challenging parts are going to be that we have this as one, excuse me, date time, excuse me for a second, one date time object, and we need to turn it into this format here, or one date time object. See, could we just replace the T in the default format with a pipe? Could it be that easy? It might be. That would be cool. Do you see what I'm seeing here? Like, if we look in the workbook at how you serialize, when you serialize a date time by default, or serialize meaning when you turn a date time into a string, it by default is going to look like this. So really, even though we don't have all the detail here, we don't have the nanoseconds, right? And we don't have, we have the minutes, right? Just the minutes. We have like this much of the date. I think if we put a T between those two parts, we might have a valid what we want. If we replace this T with the pipe operator, we might have exactly what we need for that file. Let me look at it again. Yep, it does look that way. This is including seconds though, isn't it? But would it matter if some rows didn't have the seconds? Because or should we include them? If we come over here, I guess we could include the seconds. We have the full date object. We can include the seconds. Right? We just need to replace the T with a pipe. And then will it be able to figure out that it should ignore? Oh, we'll have to kind of turn this into, we don't want these extra nanoseconds basically on there. All right, we'll have to play with this a little. But essentially what we're going to do is take the visit object and override its toString method to write this out. And when we get it doing that, then we'll simply open up the file and write it out to here. Okay, so step one is to basically be able to get our toString, or we overrode the default toString of the visit object to get it to look like we want it to, and then from there we can open up a file writer and use a buffered writer if we want to be super efficient, and write all the visit object into the bottom of the file, or append it to the bottom of the file. Okay, so we know what we're going for. It actually will be useful to have this open. So I'll pull that open to the side. I don't think we really need this project view open. And oops, I don't know what I clicked on there. Oh, I went into the scanner class accidentally. Okay, so here's my app, but I want really interested in the visit class, and I want to take this toString here and turn it into this string here. Okay, so do we want a string builder, or do we just want to format a string? I think we want to use string.format on this one because it's all one line, right? So string.format is like printf, which is print format. So we might have to go back and look a little bit at the first workbook to remind ourselves how this works. But essentially we want to end up with a string, which is the, what should we call it? Visit. We'll call it visit as string, right? Or we could just call it the visit info. Just call it the visit. Okay? Because it's a string, it's the visit. It's the information about the visit. And then we'll do string.format, and we'll pass it an object, or we'll put in kind of what we want to put in here. So I'm going to take one of these rows here, the last one, and paste it into here. And then we'll kind of work through each piece of it, replacing it with what we need. So the first thing we want to replace is this and this here. I don't know that I'm going to get this perfect the first time, but let's just try to get something out here. And what we want is a % wherever we want to fill something in. And then there are certain character format things that I can never remember. Let's ask ChatGem. Now let's go to the workbooks, right? So everybody will kind of using our resources, right? So if I go to the workbooks here and I go into strings, loops, and arrays in week 2, I believe. And I come down here and I look at their string builder, converting a string to a date, which we kind of know. This might be in an earlier work, in the first workbook, right? Because we did the print F stuff, or the string.format stuff in there, I think. Let's look. So I'm going into the intro to Java here, go to here, data types, types of variables, numbers, string concatenation, formatting output. I think this is what we want. Yeah, this is the page I want. So it's page 71 in the first workbook. It gives me the list of possible type characters to put after the % sign. So it's always going to be where you want to put something in, you're going to have a %. And then after that, you need to say what data type that thing is. This is interesting though. We're going to basically have a string here. When we're done, we'll have to format format the string, and we'll try %s there, because there's no like date type here, right? That you can put in. I think ultimately it's going to be two-stringed. So this date here will become %s. So then here at the end, we need to pass additional arguments. That's where we'll pass the, what did I call it? Visited on? Yeah, visited on, which has the date. So that's up here, right? Visited on, we store as a local date time object. I believe it will turn this to a string. If I want to be sure, I could say visited on .toString and use its default format. We'll have to customize that eventually to get exactly what we need, but this will get us started in the right direction. and then we want a pipe, and then we want the note. So I'll do %s again, because that's where I want the note to go. And then I'll say notes, right? And then for this one, we want it to be %, and this one's confusing, D, because D stands for decimal integer, not double or digit or something, right? I guess it could be, but decimal integer. So basically we're saying we know that that is going to be a whole number. So in order to format that correctly, we put a D there. And here we have a double, so we say %, and then the format for that I think is going to be F. Let's look at the workbook again, because F is for any floating point number, which covers both doubles and floats, both, right? Anything with decimal places. And then you can, with the F, you can say 0.2F if you want like two decimal places. So we really only want two decimal places, so we'll do 0.2F there. And then we'll pass the additional fields. So the first one is going to be the length of the stay. And then lastly, the amount. And these are all going to be, see how the pipes are between them? So it should work nicely. Okay, so what's wrong here? I don't have my semicolon, and then at the end here, I need to return this string, the visit string, right? I'm gonna call this visit, I wanna call it visit line, right? Visit as string. Yeah, I don't know what I wanna call it. Let's do visit as string for now. Turn the visit as string. So this won't be exactly what we want, but it'll kind of get us going in the right direction. So if we want to test that out, we already got a loop where we're looping through everything here. And we're outputting right now visit dot display on this page. But I want to actually output instead of display for just a little bit. I'm going to comment this out, and I'm going to output just visit so I can see how my toString is working, right? Because if I s out system.out, if I print out visit, it will by default call visit.toString, which is what I just implemented. So I'll be able to see how it's working, right? I won't leave it that way because we did all that hard work to get it looking decent before. Yeah, I think we're getting somewhere. So let's look at one of these. So we need a a pipe in between these instead of, this needs to be two fields, the date and then the time. But this looks pretty good. The notes, this looks good. And this has 2 digits for the amount. So that looks good as well. So yeah, and I guess we might charge cents, so we got a double there, so we'll do that. So we're really close. We just need this to look exactly more precisely like, let's grab one of these rows. Maybe I could just leave it up. Stop this running. Okay. And I'll open up this so we can see our end goal. Where is that? Is it? Oh, it's way over here. I pulled it way over here. Okay. So see how this is a little bit different than what we want. It's not giving us hours, minutes. It's not giving us seconds, and we need to take this T and replace it with a pipe so that those are separated basically. And we need to make sure that this is outputting in 24-hour format, which it looks like it's doing already. Okay, so let's go back and look at our date formatting kind of stuff. The date formatters are coming in strong on this exercise. So I'm going back to workbook 3, kind of looking at the date formatter stuff. So that's the default format. Here is some different formats. We've got that article up about the different formats. So we're doing like that. Yeah, I think that what we need to do is kind of look at this article again. So I'm going to pull this article up. I already had it up, so now I got 2 versions up. And we'll look at this. Formatter patterns. H. Does it have some predefined ones? Is kind of what I'm wondering, because I'm trying to be lazy here and not rebuild that entire format string. Let's see if we can get Gemini to tell us what the default format string is. No, I do not want to download something. In Java, using a local date time object, what is the default format string used? I'm looking for something like this, but the default one. There we go. My laziness has paid off, and it gave us kind of all the other things we need. So I'll copy this, and we'll just adjust that. So I have another place where we're already formatting a string that I did in the last video. Just trying to remember where it is. Is it... I did it when I was outputting things, right? So when I was displaying things. So it'd be in view visits here. Yeah, it's right here, right? So, well, no, that's not it. It's the in display method of the visit, right? This display method, we did a string format before. So I'm going to grab this line and bring it down here. And I'm going to replace the pattern with the one that ChatGPT gave me, the default one. See how programming is kind of just piecing together like a mystery or something. You're kind of piecing things together. So this SSS, I think, is the nanoseconds that we don't want. And instead of having a T here, we want a pipe operator, right? So if I did all that right, now if I say visited on dot format, and I pass it the format that I want here, and I'm going to call this something a little more. So date format for file. Yeah, we'll just say file. We don't. So I'll put that in there. Date format for file. Now let's see what we're outputting. View visits. That, I believe, looks right. We have hours, minutes, seconds, no nanoseconds, and we have the pipe in between. So I think we have succeeded in creating that string. Okay, so before I forget, I will go here and kind of put this code back together where I commented out what it's supposed to do. It's supposed to display the nice formatting I did in the last video. And we don't really need this right now. We'll do that in a separate method. Okay. So when I go to add a visit, I could do a bunch of prompting. But quite honestly, you guys are pretty good at the prompting stuff, right? Most people are comfortable with it. So I'm going to go straight to here. What I'm going to do is just get a new visit object, and I'm going to try to save it, right? So basically, you're going to prompt for a bunch of information. At the end, you're going to end up with a new visit. So I'm going to create a visit object here and say, this new visit equals a new visit object. So when I say new visit, I mean we'll just say visit, right? I'm just going to say I'm creating a visit, and this visit is going to have the following information. So do you see how the constructor is coming up? Because if we look at our visit object over here, we created a constructor, a parameterized constructor that has this stuff coming in and then sets it into the object. So I'll come here and why not just use the current date time for now? We might have the user enter it later, but I'll say locale date time dot now, right? And that'll give me the current date and time. String notes. So I'm lazy, so I'll copy another note. Evening walk for Sophie. Fun fact, I actually had a dog named Sophie at one point in my life. I've had cats too, for you cat people. And in here, I'll paste that content. And I'll change the name to my current dog, Leo. And he's a he. I'll say he was sweet and calm. He was, actually, we can say crazy hyped because he has been eating the farmer's dog food. Right, and this is a true fact. He's a little crazy right now because of the farmer's dog food. It's like turn back the years on Leo, but my dog, but it's you think you want a young puppy again until you have a young puppy again, right? Okay, so what's it not happy about here? Just that I'm not passing all the arguments yet? Yeah, I think that said only 2 found, right? It wants me to pass additional arguments. So the next thing is the length. If he was crazy, it might have been a 40-minute visit. And then our dog walker charges a lot of money. I don't even want to know how much, but we'll say it was like 7. It's just the number of times we have them come, right? So for a 40-minute visit, we'll say $30. Let's say $40 a minute. Is that too much? Dog walkers though can charge a lot, right? If coding doesn't work out for you, you've always got dog walking, right? You always got dog walking. As long as you like dogs. Evening walk for Leo, so 40. Oh, the length was 40 and the charge was 40. That's gonna, cause me to think too hard. So I'm gonna do 35 on this one. And yeah, we'll just leave it at that. So I've basically, pretending I prompted for all this stuff, right? Now I can take all that stuff that got prompted for and put it into a new visit object. And then my next job is to, write a visit to the file, right? So I'm going to create a method down here, public static void. So it's static because all our methods are static. We're just kind of putting them in the main or the app.java file and making them all static. We'll move more into object-oriented design later, right? So we can move these into other places. But for now, just get good at writing functions, naming things, etc. So public static void. So we're doing more of a functional style of programming right now. So public static void, and I'll call this save. Save visit. And I could say to file, but that I might change the implementation of it someday to say, to save somewhere else, to a database or something, right? So for now, I'll just say save visit. And do I want to give some feedback as to whether it worked or not? Not really. I'll just throw an exception, right, if anything happens. So save visit. And in here, this is where I'll need a file writer. So we have an example in the book, in the workbook. Get this closer. Oops. This over here. I have an example in workbook 3. If I go up to the table of contents, we want to look for how do we use a file writer, right? And grab an example from there. So here's a file writer writing to files, and here's a buffered writer. We probably want the buffered writer. So we have some code here. And so I'm just going to copy, we'll look at for some other examples, but I think, yeah, we want to use a buffered writer, so it writes text efficiently to the file, 8K buffers. It only writes the buffer to the file when the 8K buffer is full. Do we really want to buffer it if it's just one row at a time? 8K. How much is that? That's not that much. We can be efficient about the writing. We'll let the system handle it. So we'll use a buffered writer, and we'll grab this code here if I can highlight it. Okay, sometimes highlighting from the bottom up tends to work better in these books. And then inside my save visit, I will paste this code. And didn't really come in quite well. I'm going to hit the formatting button. Still, it's all these comments got butted over when I copied them in. I'm just going to move them over so it doesn't drive me too insane. And in fact, create a file writer, create a buffered writer. This is like labeling, putting a comment in cat, right? Of course, that's what I did. Create a file writer. I created a buffered writer. Write to file. Yeah, if I say buffer.write, I am writing to a file. That is correct. And then here, we don't really need like a big loop here to write things to or to build up a string. We just need to write the data. We do need to close the writer, but again, that's a little much. And so I'll start importing these. So I'll say import class. So I'll get my file writer. I'll come down to here, import class for the buffered writer. This text here will end up being our visit object. and I'll pass the visit in to save it. I wasn't thinking of that before, but that's what I should do. And then I'll write out the visit. Remember that visit is going to call visit.toString, and we just spent time formatting that so that it can be saved in the right format. So I'm just going to say write visit there. What's going on here? Doesn't like it. It should be fine with that, but maybe it needs the toString. But why? Oh, because it's not write line, right? Write, a buffered writer's write method expects a string. When you pass to the print function, it automatically knows to toString it, but here it doesn't automatically know that we need to toString this. And then I'll do the formatting thing again so my indentation doesn't end up messed up. And this here will look just like the path that we created up here, so I could just copy that. We want to write to data visits.csv, so we'll change that. Again, this is just IntelliJ trying to help you out. So visits.csv, buffered writer.write, the visit.toString. Again, I'm not a big fan of abbreviations, so I'm going to rename this variable. Rename to buffered writer. Exactly. That's what I want to do. And an unexpected error occurred. I don't think this is good. Useful. I'm just going to say an error occurred saving the visit. Please try again. Okay, so that's a little friendlier message. This is going to show us the real error that happened. We can remove that like in the production app if we want to, so that users don't see that. We'll end up learning about logging, and we'll log that somewhere later in the class. Okay, so we got save visit, and if I come here and I basically call save visit and pass it the visit, this should automatically save a visit for me to the CSV file. Now it's going to do it without prompting me, right? So maybe I should just take one prompt in to kind of make it pause for a second. Yeah, it can't hurt, right? Maybe I'll just prompt it. I'll do sout and say, how do we say it in other places? I basically want to say hit enter if you want to do this. Invalid menu option. What's the prompt? Error reading file. Yeah, press enter to save a new visit. That's what we'll do. Put an N at the beginning of it. So I'm just kind of, do you see how you kind of attack the hardest part of the problem first, right? Saving the data, and then I can go back and add all the scanners and stuff. So I need double quotes here. Press enter to save new visit. ... And then that should, I need to read here, just do a scanner.read our next line. It should pause and wait for me to hit enter, and then kind of eat the, ignore the enter key and continue is basically what it should do if I'm thinking about this right. Let's try it out. Okay, got a little bit problem here. So again, clicking the blue link here will take you right to where the error is. It says class interface enum or record expected. So I'm going to go here. Public static void run reports. It's like I moved some stuff around here and didn't mean to. You guys kind of see what I'm seeing here? It's like, did I delete a bunch of stuff, or probably not that bad. So public run reports. Where is my main method? There's my main. Why is run reports all the way up here at the top now? What did I muck up here? So let me stop running. Collapse this down so I can get a good view of all the code. So sometimes I like to collapse things down so I can kind of see the overall structure, see what might be missing, what I might have moved around. Yeah, I must have deleted some. Yeah, all this stuff should be inside of app right here. And somehow I accidentally moved it outside of app with the keystrokes I was doing. Wow, what a hot mess, right? So all these are fine, but all these methods here should be inside of here, and somehow I successfully moved them. So I'm going to hit Control X, come down here, and move them in here, and everybody's happy. Yeah, only experience will allow you to get out of a jam like I just got in, but a good thing to do is, you know, check in often for that, although I'm not totally out of the weeds yet, because I've got this app. I might have an extra curly now. Let me try formatting. Yeah, that looks good. Let's just try to run it and see. Okay, so far so good. Let me make sure my view visits still works. It does. Let me go to add visit. It says, please enter to save a new visit. Before I do that, I'm going to open up visits.csv and go to the bottom of it. And now I'll hit enter. And it successfully did not work. Press enter to save a new visit. Maybe this is just a refresh issue. Possibly. That would be my lucky day. Let's open CSV, visits.csv again. Okay. So it did work, but it didn't work, right? It wrote the row there, but it also overwrote all the other content there, and I want to append. So I need to be careful. So I'm going to hit Control Z. It's saying it cannot undo those changes. So I'm going to have to use source control to get those changes back. Okay, so I'll start there. So if I go up to GitHub, probably be the easiest thing for me to do. I could do it locally here too. Let's do it locally in Git. So viewing visits, here's a branch. I can go into those two files changed. Port menu. Yeah, here's the original data file in my history. So I'm just going to copy the content of that out and come in here and paste it over top here. So I'm back to where I want to be. And then I believe there's a flag when you open the writer up that I can use to say that I don't want to overwrite. So this is say visit. So I think it's here when I open the file writer up. There's another argument. Or is it the buffered writer? So let's look back. I think the workbook will tell us. I could, go to ChatGPT and probably get a quick answer. But so we got our new buffered writer here. Up here, if you pass true as the second argument, it will append to an existing file rather than create another file. So true as the second argument, I assume, would be to this file writer. So I want that second argument on a file writer. Maybe I'll just type it, say true. Yep, and do you see how it's the parameter's called append true? So that should correct the issue for me. We'll go ahead and run it and say, just make sure everything's working. Yep, I'll go add visit and I'll go to visits.csv. And I don't know that this is refreshing very well, but I'll go to the bottom of it in case we get a lucky moment there, and it says press enter. I don't think it picked up my enter. Yeah, I didn't hit enter the first time. Okay, so I think when the program's running and stuff, visits is not refreshing. So I'm going to close that, reopen it. Oh, I was so waiting for Leo to be there. And actually, he's there. He just didn't get a new line. Right, so I appended it, but I didn't get a new line when I appended it. So I'm trying to decide whether in the toString method, whether I add the /n for the new line, or whether I add it if there's a place closer to when we're writing it out that I should do it. Like maybe in the save piece. Okay, so I'm going to start by deleting this record so we can try this again. And I guess it really depends on where the cursor is. Like if this has a return in it, that would have totally worked, right? So it's going to be a little iffy. It's going to be about how you leave the file. So I may end up pulling this new line back out, but we'll have to do some more testing. But so I'm saying buffer.write visit.toString. Before that, I could buffered writer.write new line, right? And then I can decide later whether that was a bad idea to put that in. So the slash goes backwards to get the new line. And let's try it again. Okay, so we'll just go straight to 2 this time. Press enter to add a new visit. Did that. If I go to visits.csv, yay, Leo's entry got in there. I think I just typed a little bit more than the other entries, and that's why it's like that. Obviously, I need some scanner stuff to do the prompts to accept these things coming in from the scanner. So all these things, hang on, add visit, right? All these notes and stuff I just kind of hard-coded in here. But if we took them, if we scanned, we prompted the user, hey, when did you visit, right? And what are your notes, and how long was the visit, and what amount do you want to charge? Then we'd have kind of a fully functioning screen here to add a visit and be in good shape. But I'm going to call that it for this video, and because I know it's getting long, but hopefully I'm explaining everything really well. And yeah, and then I'll pick up and probably do the scanner part of this, add the scanner part of this next in the next video.